Welcome into part 3 of the Week 17 preview. Championship week is upon us, and hopefully, if you're listening to this, you made it to your fantasy championship. Maybe you didn't, and you're just listening to it because you're a fantasy football addict like I am, and you listen to it even if you're not in the championship, or maybe you're playing a third place game. That's always a possibility, and there's still some cash incentives involved, or just pride in general. Whatever the reason is, we're glad you're here. And in today's episode, this is our last preview video of the 2023 season. This is part 3 for week 17. The other 2 parts are there. We've already gone over Lions, Cowboys, Dolphins, Ravens, Patriots, Bills, Falcons, Bears, Raiders, and Colts. That was preview 1, video 1. Panthers, Jags, Titans, Texans, Rams, Giants, Cardinals, Eagles, Saints, Bucks. That was preview video 2. And today we got the last 5 matchups. I think we have 1 morning matchup, 3 afternoon, and then the Sunday night game. There is no Monday night game. The Monday night football game is on Saturday, I think, because of the college football playoffs going on, would be my guess. But yeah, we're in it. This is the last one of the year. We're not going to do a week 18 preview. I don't think many people play into week 18, and it's just so hard to predict anyway. So without further ado, we're just going to get into some start-sit decisions. Starting with the first game, the 49ers at the Commanders. The over-under is 50. 49ers are favored by 13.5 points. 49ers are always easy. You're starting all your Niners. Purdy, Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, McCaffrey. You're starting all those guys. Are they all going to hit? Maybe not. Could they all hit? Yes. Can any of them have a week-winning performance? Of course. So Brock Purdy had a down week, should play. I'd start him over everyone not named Hurts, Prescott, Allen, Lamar, and probably not Mahomes either. But I wouldn't argue if you wanted to start Mahomes. The matchup's just way too nice against Washington. Obviously, McCaffrey's RB1, Debo and Ayuk. Either one of those guys can go off. They can go off in the same week as well. Ayuk had a better game last week, I believe. But we saw Debo for, 3-4 straight weeks have monster performances. So Kittle must start. Easy enough there for the 49ers. On the Commander side of things, I generally don't want to start Sam Howell, or Sam Howell's benched. Actually, Brissett, I don't know what's going on. Brissett got added to the injury report today, I believe. Today's Friday that I'm looking at this. You might know this video is going to come out Saturday, so you might know by then if Brissett is going to be playing or not. But he got downgraded to questionable. Either way, I don't think I want to start either of these quarterbacks. I'll roll with someone else like a Derek Carr, hopefully a Flacco from yesterday, or a Stafford. I'll roll with Stroud. I'll roll with one of those guys. In terms of the wide receivers, if it's Brissett, I don't mind Terry McLaurin. To me, he's a wide receiver 3, and he's we've been talking about it a lot. He's in that Tyler Lockett, George Pickens, Adam Thielen, Deontay Johnson, Drake London range. If it's Brissett, I probably put him at the top of all that list. I feel good with McLaurin and Brissett playing together. If it's Sam Howell, it's just go with your gut feeling between those guys. Any one of them could have a better game, but he's still starting for me in 3 wide receiver leagues. And that's kind of about it. I mean, the only other receiver I would think about is Curtis Samuel. And to me, he's a wide receiver 4 at best. He's just probably going to need a touchdown to justify starting him, and I don't want to bank on that against San Francisco. The running backs, it's tough. Chris Rodriguez Jr. got put on the IR. Brian Robinson's been limited with his hamstring. I'm okay with Antonio Gibson. I think he's an okay RB3 play, especially in PPR. In PPR, I'd start him over guys like Jalen Warren, Gus Edwards, Khalil Herbert, Tajay Spears, guys like that. I wouldn't go as far as to play him over guys like Clyde, Javonte, Singletary, Connor. So he's a RB3, maybe a flex if you're desperate. In terms of receivers that I would play over Antonio Gibson, in PPR, I'd play him over guys like Curtis Samuel in the same game. Odell Beckham, unless Flowers is out, I might lean Beckham there. Tyler Boyd, Jameson Williams, Demario Douglas. I'll probably play Antonio Gibson over Demario Douglas just because I think Gibson at worst is probably going to have half of the production that Douglas is going to have, and he's going to get some groundwork as well. I'll play him over Josh Downs, guys like that. So he's a flex for sure. And then Logan Thomas, I don't really want to play, so I don't want to chase that. He's in that bucket of tight ends again. That's you hope 4 for 50. 4 for 50 and a touchdown. If you get that, you're super happy. If you get 4 for 50, you're not disappointed. Easy enough of that game. So we'll move on to the Steelers at the Seahawks. Starting with the Steelers, I know a lot of people are going to want to. Well, you're not starting the quarterback Mason Rudolph. Najee Harris to me is an RB3. I'll play him over guys like Warren, Edwards, Khalil Herbert, guys like that. Javonte and Najee are kind of the same person to me. I'll probably lean Javonte because of the matchups a little bit better. Najee versus Achane. If you need big play potential, go Achane. If you need a safer floor, I guess, then maybe go Najee. Although, Najee's his floor, you hope his floor is about like 8 points, right? You would hope with the production he's going to get. I do think this game's going to be, close enough to where they're going to be able to give Najee enough touches to have a safe floor. So he's right in that RB3 range. Warren, I don't really want to start. Warren's been not very good since week 12. He hasn't had more than 9.5 points. So there's not really a ceiling and there's not a great floor with Warren. So I just want to avoid him altogether. I know a lot of people are going to chase the George Pickens big matchup. I don't blame you if you want to throw him in there again. He's in that McLaurin, Lockett, Thielen, Drake London range. Could they have huge games? Yes. Could he have, this feels like a game where he just has like 2 catches for 20 yards, he's kind of like a Gabe Davis, maybe a little bit more consistent than a Gabe Davis. So if you need upside, Pickens isn't a terrible play, in my opinion. Sorry guys, just checking my volume. Good to go. And then Deontay is kind of in that same range. It just should be a safer floor. He actually had a big play, and Mason Rudolph overthrew him. It would have been, I think, a long touchdown. I forget exactly, but I think it would have been like a 40-plus yard touchdown catch, or at least a big catch. So I still like Deontay. A little bit safer of a floor if you compare him to guys like McLaurin, to Pickens, to Drake London. If you need a little bit safer of a floor, then I would go with the Deontay. Like if you're projected to win by 30 points, maybe Deontay's the play. Just give you hopefully a safe floor, especially in PPR. And that's about it. I don't want to start Freiermuth or anything like that. On the other side of the ball, the Seahawks, I think Geno's a fine play. Don't think he's a must start, but I think he's a top 15 guy. Like I'd play him over Tua this week. I just don't like Tua's matchup. I'd even think about playing him over Jordan Love, just because Minnesota's a pretty tough matchup as well. I think Geno's been playing a lot better lately. I think he's fully healthy. If you look at like Geno, the last 2 games he's played 17.3 points, 31 points. I don't think the Steelers are a terrible matchup. So I'll take Geno over Love, but it's kind of a coin flip there. And I'll definitely take Geno over like a Derek Carr, Gardner Minshew, guys like that. So Kenneth Walker. Now Seahawks, this is Friday, late afternoon that I'm recording this. We don't got the Friday practice reports in for the Seahawks. Kenneth Walker hasn't practiced all week. He was like that last week and then played. This time he has an illness. If he plays, I'm probably going to start him. If I started him last week, then I'm probably starting him this week. I like the matchup. I'd start him if he's in there. I'd start him over guys like Pollard, Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler. I'd start him over guys like that. So to me, he's like a top 12 guy if he plays. If not, Charbonnet's a smash play. I do believe that Metcalf got added to the injury report on Friday. So that's concerning. If Metcalf plays, his back injury. If Metcalf plays, I'm playing him. I don't want to sit DK Metcalf. You know what he's capable of. Like, He's a wide receiver a wide receiver 2 with one wide receiver 1 overall potential. So to me, he's like a top 15 guy, could finish wide receiver 1. And again, you just look at that list, like there's not many guys that can do like Nico Collins. He's ranked around guys like Devontae Adams, DJ Moore, DK Metcalf, Nico Collins. Those guys could finish wide receiver 1. Devontae Smith could. And then you get to like Michael Pittman, DeAndre Hopkins, T. Higgins, Calvin Ridley. Those guys, very unlikely they finish wide receiver 1. So like that's where the wide receiver 2 range falls off a little bit. So we're like, I'm always going to lean towards the guys that can finish wide receiver 1, even though they're both ranked as wide receiver 2s. I still like Lockett, especially if DK doesn't play. I mean, again, he's kind of a boom bust wide receiver 3. He just hasn't boomed really. So he's like a low end wide receiver 3 to me, and kind of the same with Jackson Smith and Jigba. Kind of a low end wide receiver 3 for me. If Metcalf doesn't play, I'll bump those guys up to wide receiver 2s for sure. And I think that's it for this game. So we'll just mosey right along to the Bengals at the Chiefs. Over under here is 44. By the way, the over under for the Steelers Seahawks game was 41. Seahawks favored by 3.5. Over under for this Bengals Chiefs game is minus 6.5. 44, and the Chiefs are favored by minus 6.5. Bengals side of things, I'm going to shy away from Browning. We saw this tends to happen. We talked about it on the recap show. This tends to happen with these backup quarterbacks, that they have these games where after about 3-ish games of starting, teams get some tape on them and they learn their tendencies and they're able to kind of shut them down, and that's why they're backup quarterbacks. So I don't want to start Browning. I want to avoid it as much as possible. If Jamar Chase plays, he's been limited the last 2 weeks. He's kind of been talking like he is going to play. If he plays, I'm starting him. I drafted Jamar Chase with in the 5th top 5 pick in the fantasy draft. If I did that and I made it all the way here, even though Chase has been, up and down and stuff, I'm starting Jamar Chase. It's just, he's a one play type of player. He can take one 60-yard pass to the house and makes your week. So he was my first round pick, a top 5 pick for a reason. I'm starting him. I'm still starting T. Higgins, even if Jamar Chase plays. I believe L'Jarius Sneed, he hasn't practiced all week. So that's huge for Chase. If Chase is playing, that's huge for Higgins if Chase is out. Either way, I'm starting Higgins. I think there's, wide receiver 2 potential there, even with Chase there. So, I'll think about Tyler Boyd if Chase is out, but that's like a desperation in a 3 wide receiver league. Not desperation, but I just don't want to rely too much on it in the championship week. It's more of like I need points from somewhere. So, and I don't really want to start any of the tight ends. And Joe Mixon, to me, he's a top 15 running back. Like I would have started Breece Hall obviously over him. I'll start Pollard over Mixon. Although, actually, I'll probably start Mixon over Pollard, to be honest. I think there's a little bit safer of a floor there. Pollard's floor is like 5 points, it feels like, whereas Mixon, he's only had lower than 8 once since their bye week in week 7. So I like Mixon over there, but I won't start him over like Kenneth Walker or Bijan. I'll start him over Aaron Jones, Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, Mostert. He's a volume play. So that is it for the Bengals. On the Chiefs side, it's Mahomes and Kelsey. I'm still starting. The only guys I'm starting over Mahomes, and you probably don't have most of these guys anyways because you drafted Mahomes, and these guys also went high, is Hurts, Dak, Allen, Jackson. Those 4 guys you shouldn't have with Mahomes unless you're talking about like a super flex or something. But in a 1 quarterback league, if you have both those guys, I don't know what you're doing. You should have traded one. But Brock Purdy's the only guy that you could have with Mahomes that you could potentially start over. I still lean Mahomes, but I'm not going to argue against anyone that wants to start Purdy in a really nice matchup. So, and Purdy's been better this year overall. I know Purdy had a bad game last week, but Purdy's played. They both played every single game. Purdy's averaged about a half a point better than than Patrick Mahomes for the entire season. Mahomes hasn't had a game of more than 21 points since week 7. So there's not really a high ceiling there. So I'm not going to argue anyone that wants to start Purdy over Mahomes. I'll probably just still lean with Mahomes. The running backs here, I don't believe Pacheco had a limited practice, so maybe he could still get out of concussion protocol. I don't know. I'll start Pacheco if he's playing as like a low-end RB2, mid-tier RB2. I'll start Clyde if in the exact same position. I think either one could be a smash play. And I still think Clyde, even if Pacheco's there, could be something. But it's tough to do that, trust him with Pacheco there. And Clyde had an illness as well. Let me just make sure. He didn't practice the last 2 games, so he could potentially be out. It's an illness, so hopefully he gets better between now and Sunday. Still has, a day and a half or so to get better. So just monitor that situation. If it's neither one of them are there, then I guess someone like a Deneric Prince would be like the next in line, would be my guess. I'm just looking at their depth chart right now. LaMichael Pirine is the next guy on their depth chart. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who to start between LaMichael Pirine and Deneric Prince. Like, who? I don't know. I really don't know. LaMichael Pirine. Let's see here. I'm just gonna look up. Has he done anything? He has 1 attempt on the year. Like, I think they use him more as like a little bit more of a receiving guy. So my guess, I would say like it's gonna be Deneric Prince taking the Pacheco role maybe, and Pirine with the pass catching role, but it's so hard to know. Kelsey, I already said we're starting, and Rashee Rice, you're basically starting in all 2 wide receiver leagues, and that's it. That's it for that game. That's a disappointing one. Like, if you imagine you look at the schedule when it comes out in April or May, and you're looking at it and you're like, all right, week 17, we get the Bengals at the Chiefs. Bengals at the Chiefs. Week 17 matchup, and yeah, it's Joe Burrow not here. Chiefs not playing that well. It's not as great as what we thought. 2 more games for you. We have the Chargers at the Broncos. This is another one. Chargers, Broncos. I mean, you weren't as excited, but no one expected to be Easton Stick versus Jarrett Stidham week 17. Chargers, Broncos. No one expected that. That's what it is. On the Charger side of things, Keenan Allen's out. I don't mind Eckler here as like an RB2. Broncos are really bad against the run, so I think Eckler can have a good game, catch 4 or 5 passes. Josh Palmer and Keenan Allen are out. The only pass catcher I really would want to start here is actually Gerald Everett. I'll bump him up over like Waller, Schultz, Goddard. I'll put him as like a top 10 guy that I might even flex him if I'm that desperate. I play some deep leagues, and I'm looking at guys like Darius Slayton to potentially start, Jameson Williams, guys like that. And so if I'm looking at that, I'm probably going to lean like a Gerald Everett there. Like, I think he's been pretty good lately. I think he has 8 targets each of the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 8 targets, 5, and 7 catches, and now no Palmer and no Keenan Allen, who's been out. Like, I'll take Gerald Everett. I'm pretty excited there. Yeah, that's the only pass catcher I really want to start. So on the Broncos side of things, they're starting Jarrett Stidham. I'm not starting Jarrett Stidham. I don't really want to start Javonte, maybe as a flex, but to me, he's an RB3. I know the matchup's nice, but like I'm starting. There's just too many guys. Like, yeah, maybe you drafted him high, but there's like guys like Ty Chandler, Zeke Elliott, Chuba Hubbard, Kyron, all these guys that you picked up off the waivers. Raheem Mostert, that's better than him. Like Devin Singletary, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I'd start over this guy. So I really avoid Javonte if you can. The next one, and the wide receivers, I don't want to start anyone. anyone, and that's really sad. Like Sutton was ruled out, so I don't want to start him. Like I guess Judy would be the next one, but I don't want to do that. Maybe Marvin Mims for upside, like if there's a connection between him and Stidham because they practice together or something. Like maybe, but I don't want to start any of these guys on the Broncos. It's sad, but there's really like no one I want to start. That's kind of crazy. In this game, there's literally two guys I want to start in this game, and it's Eckler and Gerald Everett, and that's it. So I guess we'll move on to the Packers and the Vikings, the Sunday night game. Potentially all your matchups are wrapped up by now, but maybe not. There's some players on this team. You know, Jordan Love to me is a low end QB1. I've already talked about it enough, but I'd start Stafford. I'd start Stroud, Stafford, Kyler, Baker, Goff, and Geno over Love. So if you could pivot, I would. Aaron Jones is a start. If you started him last week, he's a start. If you didn't, he's a start. He's a top 15 guy, in my opinion. The Packers receivers, I think Jaden Reed, I'm just worried about him coming back and being limited. I think there's a good possibility he's limited. So I just really want to avoid. Actually, Romeo Doubs is probably the guy I would lean to the most as like a wide receiver 3, low end wide receiver 3. I'm just worried about Jaden Reed being limited, and he plays. He's not playing. The Packers have done that all year, so I think just looking, Reed missed. Okay, he's only missed one game, but they've done that with Romeo Doubs, with Christian Watson. They've limited these guys, and so I'll lean Romeo Doubs though because Dontavian Wicks is out. Tucker Kraft, I don't think is a terrible dart throw tight end. You know, again, he's in that 4 for 50, 4 catches for 50-yard bucket tight ends. And that's really it for the Packers. On the Viking side, you know, they're starting the rookie quarterback, Jaron Hall. I still like Ty Chandler as like a low-end RB2. It was weird. If you look at the box score, you think, oh, Madison must have played a lot because Chandler only had like 7 carries. They just didn't run the ball. I think that's going to change this week. Green Bay is terrible against the run. They have a rookie quarterback in there. I think they're going to run the ball a lot more. And I think Ty Chandler, who still had over 60% of the snaps and like all the running back carries, I think he's the guy you want to start. And I think he can have a good game. You know, I'd start him over guys like Chuba Hubbard, Montgomery, Connor, Clyde. I wouldn't go as far as to start him over guys like Eckler or Henry or Mostert, but those other guys I would. So he's a low-end RB2 for me. And then it's Justin Jefferson. And, I'll throw Addison in there if he's healthy, but I don't think he's going to be. Just double checking. Yeah, he's been limited. I want to avoid Addison if I can, especially with Jaron Hall. So it's Justin Jefferson. It's Ty Chandler, and that's really it for the Vikings, unfortunately, at this point. So that was a quick one, guys. A lot of easy games there. We're going to finish up there again. Like and subscribe, please. And we'll be here all offseason putting out content, a lot of Dynasty stuff. Hopefully, it's what we're going to be doing. So appreciate you guys all year long. We'll catch you guys next time.